take a listen to the brand new album, and I got to say, congratulations! It's an absolutely amazing album.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
So, mate, tell us a little bit about what you guys were setting out to achieve with this album.
Yeah, well, this is our fourth album now, and the band's been around for a while. So, I guess for us, we wanted to really kind of, mature our sound, for lack of a better term. So, yeah, we'd kind of been touring the last album for a couple of years, and we were figuring out aspects of songs that were working really well and things that were translating well to the live setting and things that maybe weren't going over as well. So we brought all that on board when we were trying to compose the music for this album, and we sort of started writing it over almost as soon as we released the previous one. And so we had a whole heap of material ready to go when we were coming into selecting, the tracks that were going to make the cut for the record. And the other thing that I guess we wanted to do on this album was branch out a bit with the lyrics and themes and imagery and stuff of what the band is about. Previously, it had all been almost exclusively science fiction and alien themes and all that kind of stuff, which really worked for the band and suited those records. But we didn't want to kind of just be rehashing the same material and kind of just feel like we hadn't evolved. So it was time for us to just try some new things, and that's what we've done with this album.
How did that feel, going away from those familiar themes that you had looked at on the last three albums? How did that feel, going away and actually trying to create songs about new themes and away from what you were familiar with?
I mean, it kind of felt pretty natural, to be honest. It wasn't something that we really forced. We just kind of started writing, and it just kind of happened like that, and the ideas and stuff that were coming forward, and everyone just connected with it, and it just felt pretty right. So it wasn't a forced process at all. It wasn't like we said, all right, well, we have to get away from this, but we all just kind of felt it was time to try something a bit different, and it's a pretty small, niche pigeonholed market that we've sort of been put into, with kind of being pigeonholed as like an alien core band, which it's kind of like a subgenre within a subgenre, and it's a cool thing, and we're stoked that people sort of dug what we were doing and all that. But it was time to just kind of try and just branch out just more into the world of just death metal, and I think we've achieved that on this record.
Yeah. For some of the people out there that haven't heard the album yet, what are some of the themes that you guys explore on this album?
Well, for example, we just released a song last Friday, so about a week ago, called Born in the Gutter, and we've got a music video up for that on YouTube, and that kind of essentially deals with, the theme of class divide and the idea of where you're born in the world can determine the quality of life that you have, at least to start with, and possibly for the rest of your life. So there's some pretty kind of heavy imagery and stuff in the film clip, and the lyrics kind of delve into that. And that's just sort of one example of some of the stuff that we talk about. It's I guess, for lack of a better term, it's a bit more worldly and real, things that people can relate to a bit more, I guess. And once again, it was just something that just felt natural for us to write about.
Yeah. We've been playing Born in the Gutter on the show this week, and I hear that it's a track that you're very proud of, but a track that you can't wait to play live as well.
For sure, yeah. I think it's definitely just got that classic Aversions Crown riffy feel in it throughout the verses, and then it's just got some real heavy kind of beat downs, and it's got that cool aggression behind it as well. And to me, that was always one that, even when we were demoing the song, it always just felt like one that we could just envision ourselves playing on stage.
Yeah. And, of course, talking about the video clip, it was put together by Third Eye Visuals, who also did the video clip for The Soil. Tell us a little bit about why you work with them with the video clips. What do you feel that they bring to the video clips that you guys are bringing out?
Yeah, so Ben from Third Eye Visuals, he's a really cool guy. He's got a lot of experience working with bands throughout, the metal industry especially. So he's toured with a lot of really established bands, and he's done a lot of really cool live stuff. So he really knows how to capture the performance of a band playing, as well as his really cool visions and concept he has for music videos as well. And he had a lot of really cool input and ideas that really tied in with the themes of the lyrics for what we were doing, and it was just a really cool creative process with him. And yeah, we were sort of just getting excited, getting all the draft edits from him back for what we were doing for the film clips. And yeah, so we've got one further film clip that he's done for us that we'll be releasing, I think maybe on release date of the album, which is the 12th of June.
Yep.
And if not, it might be sort of a day or two before, but I believe it'll come out on release day.
You mentioned before that some of these tracks were written very close to the release of the last album. Tell us a little bit about that process for you guys when you're writing tracks. How does that work for the band? So the main songwriter of the band since the band started has been Chris, the other guitar player, and he doesn't always come on tour with us. He's got other commitments and stuff that means that he hasn't been a full-time touring member, but he's always been the writing member of the band. So even while we're on tour and he's kind of getting input from us about what's working and not working, and he's maybe at home working on songs, and he's just always writing. He's just the sort of guy that will just, on a weekend he might just kind of crank out a song instead of, going to the pub like other people might do. So he's just always kind of tinkering with songs, and he's always just got ideas flowing out of him. And so that means that when it does come down to releasing and recording an album and that kind of thing, we have a whole bunch of song ideas and material to sort of sift through and workshop and turn into songs and then into an album, which is really cool. So he's never stopped, and even now, like, we haven't even released this album yet, and he's already kind of just been still working on new material for the future. And it's just an ongoing process for our band, and it kind of always has been. Yeah. It must feel pretty special when you first start hearing the new stuff that he's been working on. What's that moment like for you when you first start to hear it? It's really cool, and you can kind of envision how it's going to turn out at the end, because we've done this for quite a few years now, and when we hear sort of just demo ideas for songs, because we've recorded a few albums now, and we can kind of imagine how these songs are going to turn out when they're done properly, and it's a really cool experience. So you kind of do get to hear just these early demos of the songs and hear them start taking shape, and then restructuring bits and pieces and layering extra stuff on top. And yeah, it's a really cool, exciting process, and especially when it comes down to getting in the studio and it really starts coming to life in there. Yeah. You guys also produced the album yourselves. What do you see as the biggest advantage of being able to produce your own work? I mean, that essentially just means that we wrote the music and arranged all the songs, and just that means that by the time it was recording time, we were able to just sort of get in there and just worry about getting the best takes, and just getting the most clean tracking we could get done. So the mixing process was effortless, and I guess maybe other bands who haven't sort of been that prepared, that's when they really need a producer to sort of help them finish off songs and work on different ideas and stuff like that. Yeah. And I mean, there's definitely advantages to having a producer and stuff like that, but we had a pretty clear vision of how we wanted this to sound, and we sort of had all the songs written to the way we wanted them to sound already, so we just thought, let's just get in there, let's record this thing and get it done. Yeah. Now, the album's likely to come out while many of us are still in a kind of lockdown here. How does that affect the album coming out, and how does it affect how you guys would normally act around when an album's coming out, because you can't tour or anything like that? Exactly, yeah. With every previous album we've ever done, the way we've promoted it has been through extensive touring. Yeah. So it's and I think most bands are the same. So yeah, to be unable to do that's going to be very interesting to see how it pans out, and if the album is still kind of noticed and received well without us being able to get out there and sort of spread the word on the stage around the world. But at the same time, I think the fact that so many people are kind of unfortunate situations where it means that they aren't out and about or at work or
or whatever, and people are kind of stuck at home more than they ever have been. And I think us giving people some new music to look forward to, and maybe people will appreciate that, and more people will maybe check out the album because they've kind of just been at home and they need something new, and they're just eagerly searching for new music, and all of a sudden there is something new for them to check out. So it could kind of work out in that timing in a weird way as well.
Definitely. Have you guys been able to look to the future at all? Like, I spoke to a band today in Louisiana, and they said that their lockdown is effectively over now, so they're able to do local shows. They still can't travel interstate. But how far ahead have you guys looked here in Australia, knowing that our lockdown kind of dates haven't been locked in place yet?
Exactly right. Yeah. Well, as far as Australian touring goes, we were supposed to be doing a tour this month in May, but it's been rescheduled now for December.
Yeah.
So tickets are now on sale for that tour, and all the venues and everything are locked in. And the lineup is, we're playing alongside Thy Art Is Murder, Dying Fetus, Fit for an Autopsy, and Enterprise Earth. So it's a pretty stacked, heavy lineup.
Yeah.
And that'll be a huge tour. And as far as we know, it looks like everything will be kind of well and truly back on track by then. So, we've got that to look forward to. But, yeah, as you were saying, like certain parts of the world are starting to open up and ease their lockdown laws, like certain states in America and stuff. But for a band like us, we can't sort of just fly over and just play in Louisiana and come home.
Yeah.
If we're going to go to America, we need to kind of extensively tour around everywhere. And so there's no real way for us to just go over there unless we can sort of go over there. And the same with Europe. If certain countries are kind of easing their laws with the lockdown and others are still tightly locked down, it's not really feasible for us to go over and just play a couple of shows here and there either. So it's going to sort of be interesting to see when everything is fully opened up and functional again, and we don't know when that's going to be, and I don't think anyone does.
No. And how have you spent the lockdown? Like, have you found that this has been a pretty creative time for you, or have you kind of like just put the instruments down and focused on life, really?
No, I've still been playing a fair bit of guitar at home, which has been cool. It's just, it's a different kind of feeling for me because, on one hand, I had all these exciting plans for the band that we'd worked so hard towards, and we'd almost spent a year lining up all these tours and the album release and all this stuff. All the work we'd done is now kind of just out the window. So everything I had lined up for the year is gone, but at the same time there's nothing I can do about it. And for the first time, and probably the last time in my life, I've been at home without any sort of direct responsibilities. There's nowhere I had to be. I didn't have any work on. I didn't have tours to get ready for. So it's kind of like a forced break from everything, which I've never really had for such a long time. And I don't think that, any time in the future of my life I'll get a period like this that's just literally no responsibilities for, an extended amount of time. So you've got to take it for what it is and try and enjoy it and make the most of that as well. And, because, like I said, it's an unprecedented situation and there's nothing you can do about it.
Definitely. Oh, look, I'm actually enjoying getting to record our show from home. It's it feels a little bit different, but I've actually got used to it now.
That's cool.
Yeah. So tell us, how can your fans support you guys at the moment? We know every band out there is getting impacted really badly financially because they can't get out on the road. How can your fans support you at the moment aside from buying the new album?
Well, yeah, I was going to say pre-ordering the new album is a huge help for us if anyone's is digging the stuff they've heard so far. If you want to pre-order a copy of the album, either a physical or a digital copy of it, that goes a long way to help us out. And also we were sort of supposed to be doing a North American tour sort of March and April that we went over, and it was unfortunately cancelled after one show. So we were left with a whole heap of leftover merch that we'd printed and only had one night to try and sell it. So there was a whole heap left, and that's gone up online to the indiemerch.com website. And people can buy shirts and hoodies and all that kind of stuff off there for us and support the band that way too.
Yeah, and they'll probably become collectible items as well. Like, so I ran into someone the other day in a supermarket, and he was buying up all of the AFL merchandise, and I kind of looked at him, he looked at me, and he said, mate, these are all going to become collectible items because all the dates on them are wrong. So, yeah, maybe yours will become collectible items as well.
That's a very good point. I didn't really think of it like that.
Yeah. Well, mate, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. Before we go, is there anything you would like to say to our listeners out there before they go out and pre-order a copy of the album right now?
Yeah, we've just released 2 singles over the last sort of month or two. So last week we released a single called Born in the Gutter, and before that we released a single called The Soil, and they're both streaming on all streaming platforms now. We've got film clips for them up on YouTube. So check out the singles, and yeah, make sure you keep an eye out for the album, which comes out on the 12th of June through Nuclear Blast.
Definitely. Well, Michael, thank you so much for chatting to us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. We wish you all the best of luck in the future, and we cannot wait to see you guys in December.
Awesome, man. You're a legend. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, mate. Not a problem at all. Stay safe, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. You too.
All right. Bye, mate.
Bye-bye.